Jim Obermeyer, and I am just introducing to you a video that is kind of off the cuff. I wasn't planning on making it, but Thanksgiving came and the family wanted me to fix a French toast casserole. And so I did that, and it's actually Paula Deen's recipe, but I tweak a little bit. And it's something I've done for numerous years, and the family all love it. And so I am in my own kitchen now, but that video was actually made in my sister-in-law's kitchen in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so I just wanted to introduce that. To make the casserole, you start out with 8 eggs, 2 cups of half and half, a cup of milk, and cinnamon and nutmeg. And then you pour that over sliced French bread. You put it in a casserole dish, and you actually let it sit overnight. And of course there's cinnamon in it, nutmeg in the mixture. And then you let it sit overnight. And in the morning you put the topping on. And the topping is a very simple topping with brown sugar, cinnamon and nutmeg and butter. And nuts. I put in walnuts, but you can use pecans or walnuts. It doesn't matter, whichever you choose to use. So here goes a kind of an abbreviated form of the recipe and me cooking it at their house. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. God bless. Hi, this is Jim Obermeyer, and this is The Preacher Cooks. It's not a more professional video today, but it's just kind of what I'm doing. This is the day after Thanksgiving, 2 days after Thanksgiving, and I have been asked by the family to make French toast casserole. It is so good and so delicious and rich that unless you want a rich breakfast, you really don't want to make this. But if you do want a rich breakfast, it's unbelievable. And it's been a kind of a tradition in our family for Thanksgiving, usually Thanksgiving morning, but they asked me this year to do it a couple days after Thanksgiving. And especially someone who's visiting from Texas says, "Oh, can you please make that casserole?" And then what I do also is I make the bacon and put it on a cookie sheet and put a little bit of brown sugar on it and kind of candy some of the bacon. And I just leave some regular for those who don't like that. But the casserole is so easy because right here, if you can see, what I have done is I took French bread, or actually Italian bread, or any kind of really good white bread that you buy in the grocery store that is organic. That's what I like, or sourdough. And you cut it and you fill this, which is a casserole dish, with this bread that is sliced, and then you make the topping. You do this the night before, and you make the topping, and you mix 8 eggs. You mix 2 cups of half and half and a cup of milk, and then you put in, you mix the eggs and everything with it. You put in, it says a teaspoon of cinnamon. I always use more. I love cinnamon. And a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, which is more than actually Paula Deen recommends, a 1/4 teaspoon, I think, of ground nutmeg, and vanilla. Usually, whenever it says a teaspoon of vanilla, I use more than a teaspoon of vanilla because I love vanilla. So then you mix that all together. You pour it over this, and you let it sit. You cover it up with saran wrap, of course, and you put it in the refrigerator overnight. And this bread, the original recipe calls for French bread. I just used a loaf of bread. Something like the La Brea bread that you get from the grocery store because it's organic and it's really good. And the slices overnight just soak up all that goodness of those eggs and half and milk and cinnamon and everything else. And then for the topping, you use brown sugar, and you also put more cinnamon and nutmeg in that, and you mix that all up, and then you put in butter, and it says that, that corn syrup, which I never use corn syrup. I use maple syrup, and pure maple syrup, organic maple syrup. It's the best you can do. We like to eat healthy, and of course this is not the most healthy dish. I don't put any sugar in the actual egg mixture because you don't need to. The recipe, Paula Deen, calls for sugar, but I don't use that. But because the topping has so much brown sugar, it comes out so good anyway. You don't need actual sugar in the topping that you put on the bread, but on the topping on top of the whole thing and the brown sugar, you use maple syrup instead of Caro syrup. That's what I do, and I think it turns out just absolutely delicious, and everybody loves it. So here's what we're doing. Now I have the topping made, and the topping I made the night before. It calls for pecans, but I used brown sugar and cinnamon and nutmeg, and I used in it walnuts instead of pecans. I've done both. This is walnuts. I've done mostly pecans, but you know, pecans or walnuts, they're both really good in breakfast. You know that. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be adding the topping and then baking it for 40 minutes while I bake the bacon. Now the bacon I learned from a lady named Barbara who owned she and her husband owned a wonderful bed and breakfast that we went to for probably 20 some years in Big Bear, California. And Barbara makes the bacon. You bake it in the oven and you put a little brown sugar on it, so it's candied bacon. It's absolutely to die for. And all you do is put brown sugar on and bake it on a cookie sheet for about 20 minutes, and it is just wonderful. And that's what we're doing. So I'm putting this on now, and then we're going to bake it. So I popped it into the oven. There, you can see it in the oven, about the middle of the oven, and it will bake 40 minutes. And then we will have a wonderful French toast breakfast. Bacon is sizzling away in the oven. Some of it has brown sugar on and some of it does not. But it'll be ready in a few minutes. The casserole is ready and it looks delicious and it's bubbling, as you can see, around the edges with nuts and all those goodies on top. So this concludes this first video, which was just kind of done off the cuff. It was Thanksgiving Day, and I really didn't plan on making a video, but I just thought, well, I'll go ahead and do it today. And I had requested by the family to make this wonderful French toast. It's based on Paula Deen's recipe, although I add some to it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. And I hope you enjoy the French toast if you make it. It's wonderful. God bless you.